Let's do The Guardian. And China's fertility rate dropped to a record low in 2022, probably due to the one-child policy, not to be confused with Lewis's one child he still speaks to policy. Lewis, what do you think?
I speak to both of them. They don't necessarily speak to me.
I meant Jonathan.
Oh, Jonathan. Oh, that child.
Yeah,
the other one.
Problem child.
Oh, the other one. Anyway, we haven't had a chance to fight with each other. China's fertility rate dropped to a record low in 2022. Estimates show where the estimates coming from. They're coming from the Chinese government themselves. They cannot be trusted. According to my personal sources, which come from watching lots of YouTube videos on this, China has lost perhaps... They've lied about their numbers consistently because it has to do with how rich the country is and whether they've got enough manpower to fight all these wars that they want to fight. And they might have lost 100 million people, and that they're basically crumbling. And they might have only 10 years before the entire country collapses. I'm not making this up. This is what I've actually heard.
Okay.
I'm not even predicting it.
Yeah.
But it comes from the death of love. This is what happens.
It's the death of love, and it's also authoritarian policies. I mean, they're under 1 billion, or predicted to fall under 1 billion. That's tiny. That's nothing, Paul. And also, but isn't this a result of this one-child policy, 1979 to 2015? It's a long time. They did 36 years of this. They didn't predict. I'm surprised at China, because actually, what's happened now is it can't just be the one-child policy, because birth rates are a problem across loads of countries, from Western countries to Japan and Korea and so on. But it can't just be that. But I'm surprised China didn't predict that the sort of new war is going to be about birth rates, in a sense, because China's so smart, but they've missed the point that countries with dwindling birth rates will suffer, and they'll have to bring in all sorts of people, and they'll struggle, whereas countries with higher birth rates will win in the longer term. I don't know, that was a bit of a rant from me. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right, and this confuses me. There must be some Chinese proverb that clever people like yourself, Nick, are aware of, that I'm totally unaware of. But China... They always seem like they're ahead of the game to me. I'm always suspicious when they get it wrong.
Yeah.
This feels like they've got it wrong, and I'm like, have I got it wrong? Because this feels like...
Or is this misinformation, you think, and they're actually double blocking? They've got loads of people, billions.
You can't be a superpower with a dwindling population. That's just a matter of fact, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You've got to keep building your armies. You've got to keep capturing land. You've got to keep your resources. You can't do that if you're losing 1 million people every year. Now, of course, it would take probably more like 100, 200 years for this to get down to any sort of terrifying level.
No, much sooner than that.
Well, a million a year, and how many?
But it's not 1 million a year. They're lying about that. There's a whole generation of people who have one kid or no kids, and they stop. It's going to be a matter of as few as 10 years, I've heard. Here's the thing. The thing is that what China did was China put all their wealth into building apartments, tiny, tiny little apartments. And they took people from the countryside where they had lots of kids and lots of room, and they put them in these tiny apartments. And that's the single biggest factor for people not having children. You look it up. I'm not...
OK. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I just want to correct myself and fact-check myself, like BBC Verified, because actually I said it's going to fall to 1 billion before the end of the century, so that's still quite a while off. So I jumped the gun a bit on that one. But it's one problem with authoritarian governments. They do these things that are quite sort of short-sighted. They punish their own people, but then you end up with low birth rates. And I also think, not that China's done this, but in the West, we're so obsessed with climate change, we've missed the big thing, which is going to be low birth rates.
Yeah.
And if you listen to people like Elon Musk, richest man in the world, not me saying it, he says that's the real problem.
Well, you can also prove declining birth rates. It's very difficult to 100% prove that CO2 is causing...
Are you a climate denier, Paul? That's what I'm hearing.
I'm not a climate denier. I'm someone who believes in climate change, but I don't believe that we should be so terrified about it that we all think we're going to die next week.